Welcome to the Pinnacle Playbook. If you're passionate about finance, curious about success stories, and eager to explore the future of the financial world, you've come to the right place. In this video, I'll introduce what the Pinnacle Playbook is all about. First, we'll dive into the fascinating world of finance professionals, their incredible successes, their lessons from failures, and the invaluable advice they have to share. These stories are not just inspiring, but also full of practical insights for anyone in the financial journey. Next, we'll transition into something for the book lovers. In our upcoming podcast series, we'll explore some of the most impactful finance books. From timeless classics to modern must-reads, we'll discuss key takeaways and how these lessons apply to today's world. And finally, we'll look ahead to the future of finance. I'll share content on emerging trends like cryptocurrency, artificial intelligence's impact on financial markets, and the growing importance of sustainable investments. These topics are shaping the financial world as we know it, and they'll be central to this channel. So whether you're a seasoned investor, a finance enthusiast, or just starting out, the Pinnacle Playbook is here to inform, inspire, and guide you. Subscribe and join me on this exciting journey as we unlock the secrets to navigating and thriving in the financial landscape. I can't wait to share more with you soon. Today's guest is none other than George Soros, a financial icon whose journey from adversity to success is nothing short of extraordinary. Let's dive into his remarkable story. George Soros, the man who broke the Bank of England. All right, picture this. It's the 1930s and a young boy named George Soros is growing up in Budapest, Hungary. Life isn't exactly easy. He's born into a Jewish family during one of the most turbulent times in history. World War II hits, and George's family has to make life-or-death decisions just to survive. Imagine being a teenager and having to use fake identities to escape the Nazis. It's hard to even fathom, right? But George doesn't just survive, he thrives. After the war, he moves to England, and this is where his story starts to take shape. He enrolls at the London School of Economics, studying under the legendary philosopher Karl Popper. Now, Popper isn't just any professor. His ideas about an open society where freedom and democracy take center stage leave a massive impression on George. Fast forward to the 1970s. George starts his own hedge fund, Soros Fund Management. And he's not just playing the game, he's rewriting the rules. This guy has an uncanny ability to see what others can't. He studies the markets like a scientist, predicting patterns and trends that seem invisible to everyone else. But here's the part everyone talks about. It's 1992 and George makes the boldest move of his career. He bets against the British pound, yes, the currency of an entire country. And guess what? He's right. The pound crashes, and George makes a jaw-dropping $1 billion in one day. People start calling him the man who broke the Bank of England. Now, whether you admire him or criticize him, you can't deny that's a legendary move. And here's the twist. George doesn't just keep all that money to himself. Over the years, he's donated billions, yes, billions, with a B, to causes like education, human rights, and democracy. Through his Open Society foundations, he's funding projects all over the world, from scholarships to supporting free speech. So, what's the takeaway? George Soros' story isn't just about making money. It's about resilience, vision, and using your influence to create change. He's living proof that even when life throws its worst at you, you can still rise above and make an impact on the world. Wow, what a story! Did you like it? Let us know in the comments. Before diving into our podcast content, don't forget to follow and hit the like button. Also, let us know what topic you'd like us to cover in our next video.
All right, diving into Ray Dalio's principles today. And wow, we got excerpts, summaries, even a YouTube breakdown. So much to unpack. But before we get lost in the weeds, let's set the stage a bit. Dalio structures the book in 3 sections. His personal journey, the famous life principles, and then the work principles he built Bridgewater on. Kind of lays out how his thinking evolved over time. Ready to see how it all connects?
Yeah, and what's really fascinating is how Dalio weaves his own story throughout. It's not just dry advice, like you really see these principles playing out in his life, both the wins and, surprisingly, some pretty spectacular setbacks.
Right. You'd think a billionaire investor wouldn't want to talk about almost going bankrupt.
Yeah.
But Dalio actually highlights that failure, makes it a key part of his philosophy.
It's almost like he's saying, look, I messed up big time, and here's what I learned.
Yeah, like pain plus reflection equals progress or something like that. What do you make of that idea?
It's not about, glorifying failure. It's about recognizing those moments are where the real learning happens. If you can analyze why things went wrong, the pain becomes fuel for growth.
Okay, so you got to lean into the discomfort a little, not just brush it under the rug. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's dive into some of those life principles. Radical truth and transparency. Everyone throws that phrase around. But what's it actually mean in Dalio's world?
It goes beyond just like basic honesty. It's about fostering a culture where everyone feels safe to challenge assumptions, even the boss's assumptions.
So no sacred cows, huh?
Exactly. Dalio argues that without this radical honesty, you're basically making decisions with blinders on.
And that ties into his whole thing about embracing reality, right? Even when it's uncomfortable, you have to face the facts to make good decisions.
Absolutely. Even if it's tough.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's got to be hard sometimes, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. That's why self-awareness is so crucial in Dalio's system. He's big on understanding your strengths and weaknesses, because those blind spots can lead to bad choices.
Knowing yourself, wardens and all. One thing that really caught my eye from one of the summaries was Dalio's focus on separating probabilities from possibilities. Seems so practical, but kind of mind-bending too.
Right. It's about staying grounded, not getting lost in what-if land. It's easy to spin out thinking about every possible outcome.
Oh, I do that all the time.
But Dalio says focus your energy on what's statistically likely.
So data over daydreams.
Exactly.
Instead of freaking out about every potential problem, you look at the data and figure out what's most likely to trip you up.
It's a game changer for decision-making.
Forces you to prioritize too, especially when you're facing a ton of options. Speaking of options, that YouTube video you shared really highlighted Dalio's work principles, especially how they play out at Bridgewater. And let's be honest, that whole radical transparency thing sounds intense.
It is. Imagine a company where anyone can challenge anyone else's ideas, regardless of their position.
So no hierarchy, just good ideas.
Well, in theory, at least. It's designed to avoid groupthink, make sure the best ideas win out.
So it's not about being nice or avoiding conflict. It's about getting to the best outcome, even if it ruffles some feathers. Idea, meritocracy, and action, right?
Exactly. And Dalio backs us up with systems for everything. Like, decisions aren't made on gut feelings, but on data and well-defined processes.
So it's almost like a scientific approach to management. But doesn't that risk, stifling creativity?
Well, that's the paradox, isn't it? You'd think strict systems would kill creativity, but Dalio argues it's actually the opposite. By having clear processes, you free up mental space to actually innovate.
So it's like you're not wasting energy figuring out the basics. You've got a solid foundation to build on.
Exactly. And it's important to remember, it's not about blindly following the rules. Dalio is big on continuous learning and improvement, right? So those systems are always evolving based on feedback and results.
So it's more about having a framework for decision-making that you're constantly refining. Okay, that's kind of a relief. I was picturing like these giant binders of rules that nobody could ever keep up with.
I think you're picturing bureaucracy, which is exactly what Dalio's trying to avoid. He wants people to think for themselves, but within a system that, ensures everyone's working towards the same goals.
So it's like freedom within a structure. Okay, I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together, but I'm also thinking this whole radical transparency thing, it might not work everywhere, right?
That's a great point. Bridgewater is a very specific environment, and not everyone thrives in that kind of culture.
Yeah, I can imagine some people feeling like micromanaged or constantly on edge.
Right, but the underlying principle, valuing diverse viewpoints and open feedback, that has much broader applications, even if you don't go full on Bridgewater. Just creating a space where people feel comfortable speaking up, that can lead to better decisions.
So it's more about adapting the spirit of the principle to your own context. And that seems to be a recurring theme in Dalio's work, right?
Absolutely. It's not about blindly following a set of rules, but understanding the underlying principles and figuring out how to apply them to your own life and work.
So he's giving you a toolkit, not a finished product. And that brings us back to you, the listener. What are you finding most interesting or challenging about Dalio's approach?
Yeah, what resonates with you? What makes you think, I could actually try that?
Because that's where the real value is. Not just reading about it, but actually putting these ideas into practice, even if it's just experimenting with one small principle.
We've talked about Dalio's journey, his life principles, and gotten a glimpse into his approach to work. But now the question is, what does this all mean for you?
Right, it's easy to get lost in the theory. But the magic happens when you start integrating these ideas into your own life.
So as you continue to explore Dalio's work, keep asking yourself, how can I use this to become a better thinker, a better decision maker, a better version of myself?
Almost like Dalio saying, here's my playbook, but you got to write your own. Figure out which principles work for you and adapt them to your life.
It's about taking those core ideas, embracing reality, transparency, always improving, and making them your own.
Not one size fits all, huh?
Nope, it's about figuring out what success means to you and building a framework that helps you achieve it. That's what's so powerful about this approach.
It's inspiring, but kind of daunting, too.
Yeah.
Like, where do you even start with creating your own principles?
Well, Dalio actually lays out a pretty good roadmap in the book. Start by reflecting on your values, goals, and the lessons you've learned.
So, like, take stock of your life, figure out what's important, and let that guide you.
Exactly. And remember, it's an ongoing process. As you grow and evolve, your principles might need to adapt too.
Makes sense. You don't want to be stuck with something that doesn't work anymore. So it's not about setting them in stone. It's about having a framework that evolves with you.
And it's not just about the big decisions either. Dalio applies these principles to everyday stuff too.
Oh, interesting. Like what?
How you handle conflict, approach a problem at work, how you react when things go wrong. It all ties back to those core principles.
So it's a way of life, a lens for seeing the world and making choices. As we wrap up our deep dive into Dalio's principles, I think the big takeaway is this. Don't just consume the information, internalize it.
Take some time to think about what really resonated with you, what stood out, what made you think differently.
And most importantly, take action. Experiment. Try applying one of these principles to a challenge you're facing.
See how it affects your thinking, your decisions, even how you feel.
Because principles are only as good as their results, right?
It's about turning knowledge into action, insights into results.
That's the heart of Dalio's message. I hope this deep dive has given you the tools and inspiration to start building your own path to success.
Stay ahead of the curve in the rapidly changing world of finance. On the Pinnacle Playbook, we dive into future-defining trends that are shaping how we manage money and investments. Cryptocurrencies, for instance, are no longer just about Bitcoin. They're revolutionizing global finance by decentralizing transactions and creating opportunities in areas like DeFi and NFTs. Artificial intelligence is transforming the way financial institutions operate. From automated trading to personalized financial planning, AI is driving efficiency and accuracy like never before. And let's not forget sustainable investments, investing with a conscience. Environmental, social, and governance, ESG criteria, are becoming critical as more investors align their portfolios with their values while driving long-term growth. By exploring these innovations, the Pinnacle Playbook equips you with insights to make informed decisions and leverage these trends to your advantage. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow, like, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps us bring you even more valuable content. See you in the next episode.